Rafter P Construction is the design-build contractor for all of your construction needs. Quality and customer satisfaction will always remain our top priority. The American dream has inspired the Rafter P team to push to be community leaders and support the local youth because that is our future. Let's now talk with the founder and owner, Brad Pryor.
Hey guys, today we are here at Kaiser Creek Whitetails with Mr. Micah Greathouse. And I ain't gonna lie, this video is probably gonna turn out to be on some bloopers or the home funniest videos deal, whatever, but just because this dude's a clown. But he's also a very good client of ours that's been great to us, and excited to talk about the deer business. To me, I've always been intrigued why people get in the deer business. And I know you're gonna have your own commentary towards this, but why did you get in the deer business?
It was an accident.
Okay. Like a child or like a?
No. We bought this place to be an Airbnb/event center. And we decided we were going to buy some beautiful whitetails so our customers have pretty animals to look at. Called up Blackjack, a good friend of mine, and bought some deer from them. And Robert talked me into checking out the business itself, and talked to my wife a little bit. I was like, hey, what do you think about building some more pens after we started out with 4 pens and 10 deer? Next thing I know, I met Rafter P. Now we're really in the deer business. It was just to start out having people look at pretty deer. Now I want to build pretty deer.
Right. You got the facility to do it now, and the pen and everything else. But I mean, is there anything outside of just you stumbled into it? But as you've been involved now, what are? I know you well enough to know there's not just an accident. I know it's actually you're attracted to the business, and the business. What makes you feel good about the business and what you're doing to do what you're doing today?
Back up 20 years. I used to live 2 miles from here. My mom and I were going to start this. Long story short, we didn't get there because she got sick, but it was something, it's been 20 years in the making, and really didn't know I was going to go this far into it. But I've been a deer hunter my entire life. I've had a game ranch, loved it, but decided to get on the other end of it and raise deer instead of hunting them.
So what did y'all talk about when y'all were talking about this 20 years ago? I mean, what are those heartfelt strings? I'm not trying to make things...
20 years ago, well, the business wasn't what it is. I mean, there's none of this. No moron would go build something like this. Right. I mean, they were lucky to even just get into the deer business. The regulations were nothing starting. But they didn't have the genetics, tracking, and all that stuff that they do now. The business is 100% different than what it was 20 years ago.
But what was that y'all talked about, just in general? Just even though it's not the business it is today, but what did y'all talk about that both of y'all had an idea or a vision or just a conversation, not even a vision?
Like I said, it was my mom and I. My dad had passed away. We had the ranch. She said, I want to do something with this place that's going to make money. And that's when deer business was starting to become a real thing. And I mentioned that to her, and we decided we're going to do some research on it, and we got started, and then just didn't get that far. Right. She got sick, so.
Okay. But is that when you had your other place where y'all had like?
Well, we had this 2,000 acres down here that our friend owns now. We sold it when we decided to get in the deer business and bought a place that had already been fenced for 10 years, and it was already up and running basically. So we just went straight into the game ranch thing and started, having hunting clients. And we got so busy with that we never really got back towards the breeding end of it. And then many years later, we decided to move back to town, sold the ranch, and we're kind of coming full circle. I'm back right where it all started, 2 miles away from it. And
that's cool. I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
But so when y'all were doing that and you had that, what do you think you're doing with the industry now that needs the help? When you're looking at doing a game ranch, you're taking hunts out there. What do you think the industry is doing to perfect that? Which we would call a shooter buck or what have you. That's taken out to be
That's really a loaded question. There's so many different things.
What's the one that sticks to you the most?
Genetics, lots and lots and lots of research. People, it's kind of like breeding a champion horse or something. You can look many, many years back into the pedigrees and everything that they're keeping track of now. That everybody's going for that big breeder buck that everybody wants something of, but in doing that, you're just building bigger, better stocker animals for other ranches. And the ultimate goal for those is, help those people, whether it's a 1,000-acre ranch or 50,000-acre ranch. If they have big high fences, they can go in there and improve their herds by what we're doing. Right. And it all comes from the genetics, and we hopefully can educate those people on how to manage their herds properly so they can grow the better stuff. Right. But then you get into the regulation on that part, going into Texas parks, making it where when they buy from us, if a breeder's buying from you, it's one rule. If a hunting place is buying from you, it's another rule. But I'll let you talk to Texas Parks and Wildlife about that one.
Right. Which we all know it's a very...
Which they, just going through them, even doing what I'm doing here, they get your thumb on you. That's why we had to build. I mean, we might have gone a little overboard on the facility being this nice, but we built it to make sure we could follow regulations to the T, and it's kind of like a little mini animal hospital, so we can really take care of the animals properly. A lot of people don't understand that deer breeders really do care about their animals' health, and they do anything and everything they can, blood, sweat, tears, late nights, trying to make them live.
Well, I haven't met yet a deer breeder yet. I mean, not that I know all of them, but I've met a lot of them, and I don't feel like, everybody says, well, there's a lot of money involved, there's this and that. I haven't met one yet that's not heartfelt about what they're doing, heartfelt about the deer, and the money and that's spent towards the facility, spent towards the pens, to invest to make sure everything's safe, from the deer to the person working the deer. Like, this is all involved. It's not just go out there and it's just a deer. Like, there's deer everywhere. Like, some people call them a nuisance, up in the northern, areas. So, I know a lot of times they look at the Texas guys or the southern states like, whoa, man, these guys are a pain in the butt to us. And you're down there trying to go put them on, make them bigger and bigger and bigger. But to me, it's all done in the respect of, we want to do it safe, we want to make some money, but it's not there just to cram jam. Thank you, ma'am. I feel like it's handled. That's why people do what they do, to build up facilities.
They get into it because of the love of it. Yes, there is the investment side of it, where if you hit the lottery on deer, you could really have a lucrative business. But it takes a lot of the work, the studying genetics, and also if you have a great facility where you can control their health and their well-being, that can help you be profitable too, because you keep them from, like, working in this facility, we went through all the details of finding a way to prevent injury while you're working.
Sure.
And some facilities, they can do the job without going above and beyond like y'all did with this, but I felt like if we wanted customers to come in here and buy the high-end stuff, we wanted them to see that they're dealing with a high-end business here too. They can pull up and they care about everything, not just what the genetics are and throwing the deer out in the pasture.
Right. And I think another thing that is pointed out too, you're in the horse business too. Like everything, like I always say, I build stuff for the horse industry too. The stud barn's always the one. If you want to wow people, you want people to buy into your stud or use your stud to breed your mare. It's the same thing here. Like, you build your facility to accommodate what you're about, and make it safe, make it great, make it beautiful to represent your brand. But I think one of the most important things I've seen with working with you is you're also teaching your daughter things. Yep. You're teaching the passion, the things that I do with my own children, to teach them an industry I grew up and love. It's just the farm and ranch industry. It doesn't have one species more than the other that I care more about. It's just being a rancher or a farmer, and be able to teach that to your children. To me, that's one of the best things you could ever pass down.
Absolutely.
Is finding something that you can teach your children to be passionate about that is being looked the other way most of the time because of the world we live in. So, and I think that's pretty cool of watching what you've taught or working with your baby girl through all this. And there's not been one time I've been out here that, unless she was in school back before COVID, but you know, it was like she's always been here. She's always been with us, and I always thought that was cool and respected about y'all as a family, and Erin as well. As she's been out here learning this industry, and you be able to teach her through what you're passionate about. I think that's always been great to see happen. But
it is nice.
So, off the cuff.
Uh-oh.
We have this kind of relationship. So, and I know there's going to be breeders watching this, but what is your favorite buck?
Ooh. Why you got to throw me under the
Ooh,
bus?
It was a good dart right there, wasn't it?
Oh. Okay, does it have to be alive or no?
Okay, well, you opened it up for this. So go one that's alive, one not.
I don't really have a exact favorite. I mean, if I'm sitting there looking at pictures, I can tell you every single time the one that makes me just like my heartbeat is blackjack. I think pretty much anybody can say that. There are plenty other deer that are great. It's just he's just that much more. I'm not saying that just because Robert's my friend, but
well, we all have that same friend. We, you know, but this is about you right now.
Yeah.
Like, what excites you?
If you want me, are you wanting me to say because I think it's the best genetics or what I really like?
You can spin it however you want. This is an interview.
One of my favorite bucks that I really liked was El Chapo. I was in on him, but unfortunately he didn't make it. That was last year. And then, I don't know. That's so hard to answer.
I know, but it still has to have an answer.
I know. Well, I'm kind of wanting somebody back there to throw something out there for me to think about.
Well, once you think about that question for a minute, we'll get back to that one. Okay?
I don't know. I really liked Major League. Major League was really cool.
And I know nothing about genetics. I know nothing about deer other than
make you get these.
Yeah. But that was the one that's always stuck out in my head.
Which
and
one?
I know nothing Major League.
Major League.
And that was, you know, involved in my first facility, my first relationship into the deer business, and that's the one that's always stuck in my head.
I don't know if you want to put this in the interview or not, but one reason why I even know who you are is because who had Major League, which is
well, Jade Webster, MVP Whitetails.
Jade Webster.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not, Jade's done enormous things for me and the company, and I respect him every day for it. It's just, I just wanted to, I'm trying to make it more personal for you.
No, I know, but that wasn't really meant
But that's
to
the one
go
that's
there.
always stuck to my heart because it evolves around his logo, his brand. That's the one, me know nothing about any of this as far as genetics go. That's the one that's always stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And I know all the other names you're talking about, and I know where they came from. It's just, that's the one that stuck in my head, but that's why I was asking you that. But, so if you had to give it an advice, because this market, a lot of people look at it, and it's very complicated in some aspects. But what would you tell a new breeder or somebody wanting to come into the market? What advice would you give them if you had a 1, 2, 3?
First and foremost, research the regulations and see if you can handle them. See if that's something you want to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Financially or emotionally? Or both?
Well, it's more of a financial decision. I mean, it can be emotional because of what they make you do to your deer. But the financial end of it is, it can be extremely costly or even destroy you if you can't handle the regulations. There's been several ranches that just decided to get out just because they didn't want to deal with the regulations. That being said, if you can handle the regulations and survive it, then there's a lot to be done where you can be a very successful place. But you just have to follow the rules. It's not something you can fudge rules, you just get in trouble.
Right.
Second, you need to make sure whatever money you put into the business is something that you could say, I didn't have that in the first place. That way, if something bad does happen, because disease could destroy you, that's not going to destroy your family.
Right.
Make sure that's not going to happen.
Would you put that in a perspective of, I love fishing, So I'm gonna go out there. I want to try to be on tour. So I'm gonna go out and spend 300,000, 400,000, whatever. Even though these numbers probably don't remotely, but that's the way I would see that. Is, yeah, you love fishing, but you also, the reality of that is everybody in the world wants to do it. You got to make sure when you want to play, you want to play. It's not gonna affect your family. Yeah.
And it is nice that you have a family that wants to work with you. I mean, that's not really part of the 1, 2, 3, but make sure you can handle the regulations, the financial decision of it, and if you're not going to take care of it yourself, make sure you can find good help. In this market, I'm not saying the deer market itself is bad. It's just the entire world right now is a little difficult to find good help.
Sure. So if you had to close the whole conversation of, I'm Micah Greathouse. Number 3 is pay attention to this. Or number 3 is, this is the, you really need to, if you're going to do this, this is the thing.
You also need to know that you are not going to make an immediate return, because you breed a doe. She's pregnant for 6 months, and that baby has to grow, if it's a buck, for 2 to 3 years before you decide if it's a breeder or if it's a stalker. So when you make the investment, you need to be able to sit on that investment for 2 to 3 years before you even really realize any returns.
Yeah. Would you feel that it's fair to say that you need to make sure you know who you're talking to when you're getting into it as far as buying?
Yes.
And like, to me, I think that's what I've noticed just being around the market is, like, I can see the vultures flying in the sky of everybody wants to be your friend when you're coming in. I mean, that's a one-way ticket sometimes.
Do your research on the people and the way they operate their businesses. Just try to make good decisions. I mean, most every one of them out there is real good, but there are vultures. I've been fortunate not to run into any yet that I believe. I haven't been bit yet.
Right. It's not criticizing anybody in the industry. It's just saying, it's like anything you get into.
Any industry
everybody
has
wants to take
something.
your money up front. But who wants that one-way ticket?
It's expensive. It's expensive to jump in, but it's nice. You meet good people. There's a lot of. I've made a lot of good friends in a short period. Met crazy-ass people like you.
Capital crazy.
Capital crazy. Sorry, didn't mean to say it that wrongly.
So anything you want to close with? I mean,
no.
So you happy you did what you did?
Yeah. No, I'm just I'm at that point where that time you got to wait on that return. Besides that, it's all been great. I think everything turned out good. Obviously, there's always the hiccups here and there, like rain and snow, and every time you breathe, there's something like Indian burial grounds. You don't need to build on one of those.
Right. Yeah. You should name the place Redskins.
It's good.
Well, and I think that's the biggest challenge. I think you being a great client and your family as generous y'all been to us and graceful, is like going through a time to get into an industry. This started during more or less the ass end of COVID.
Well, we started in COVID. In the very same year, well, it was COVID the first year. The second year, when we really got going, CWD hit, so the entire industry got shut down. And now, this year, the rules are harder than ever. They're all right when we jump in, and I decided to jump head first into concrete. We'll see if I crack it.
I think you cracked it. But anyways, I hope this helped. I feel like hopefully it's an insight of what it takes to get into the deer business. But he's still smiling through all that, and he is a great guy, great family. Check him out, KCR Whitetails, Kaiser Creek Ranch, whatever you want to look at it.
Kaiser Creek Whitetails, that's what we're calling it now. We've changed the name like 18 times.
I know, your logos, the names, like, so if I ever butcher one, it's not out because I don't know what this guy's about, it's just because he changes stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But anyways, I appreciate your business. Good talking to you. Talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.